That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. We had some technical difficulties. Instead of appearing by phone. Now, my name is Matt Rothy. I'm the Stoughton Municipal Judge. We're here tonight for a plea night, and the three plea options are guilty, no contest, or not guilty. You've been basically the guilty plea means that you're going to accept guilt and you want to end it today. No contest plea means that you don't necessarily want to admit guilt, but you want to resolve it today. And I will, if there's a factual basis in the plea, I'll find you guilty. Now, not guilty plea means that you don't believe the city could prove their case, or that you didn't commit the citation as charged, and that you want this you want it basically set over for a trial. So do you understand those so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Sticklehead, why don't you give the address to the court?
My current home address is 1825 Hildebrandt Street, Stoughton, Wisconsin, 53589.
Okay. Mary, do you have that?
Yes.
Okay. So with that, you have two citations in front of you. One is for operating while under the influence of an intoxicant, and the other is operating with a prohibited alcohol concentration. Now, the penalties on these citations are the same. Now, do you understand what operating while under the influence is?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Basically, that you're operating a motor vehicle or manipulating the controls either on a highway of the state of Wisconsin or premises held out for public use while you're under the influence of an intoxicant. Now, the penalties are as follows. The penalties would be a 6 to 9 month driver's license revocation, a total forfeiture of $150 to $300. However, with that, you also have to pay a $355 assessment fee and other associated court costs. The total forfeiture usually comes between $700 and $1,000. You understand that as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you're found guilty, you have to attend an alcohol and drug assessment class, and 6 points will be issued your driver's license. Now, if you have a blood alcohol content of 0.15 or higher, the state mandates that I also order an interlock ignition device be installed on all vehicles registered in your name. And you also have a prohibition on your driver's license that you have to, anytime you operate a motor vehicle, you would also have to have an interlock ignition device be installed in your car as well. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And then the period for an interlock ignition device would be for 12 months, and there's also a $50 surcharge. Now, and the state of Wisconsin has kind of a quirk that if you were arrested for an OWI more than 10 years ago, this would still count as your first offense. But if you've had a previous OWI offense, I also must order an interlock ignition device be installed on your vehicles and order that covers your driver's license as well. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So what I've told you so far with the 6 to 9 month driver's license, the forfeiture, $700 to $1,000, AOD requirements, and 6 points issued your driver's license, and then as well as an IID and a $50 surcharge. That those also apply to the operating with a prohibited alcohol concentration. However, I can only set one set of fines for both. Say if you got a $850 ticket on your citation, I can't fine you $1,700. I only fine you $850. So in other words, I can find you guilty of both, but I can only impose penalties on one of those citations. Do you understand that as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So good. So you understand the elements. Those are the fine. And then, do you have any questions for me?
Actually, I just have one question on one of the last things we just went about. You indicated you can only assess penalties on one. That is
correct.
Both monetary and points against license. Is that accurate, Your Honor?
Correct. So
okay,
6 points, 6 to 9 month driver's license revocation, AODA. You only have to do that once. One set of penalties, basically. And let me talk about the blood alcohol content. Typically, what I do for that is that if you're below a 1.5, I do a 6 month driver's license verification. If you're between a 1.5 and a 1.99, it's 7. If you're 0.2 or higher, it's 8 months. And if there's any bad driving amidst that, what I do is then I increase the penalty by 1 month.
Okay.
Do you understand that as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I've gone through the fine, the forfeiture, the penalties, the alcohol and drug assessment, the time period. I've gone through the pleas and then the forfeiture. Normally, I grant 60 days to pay the forfeitures. I know, Mayor, I know we do 30, but I think since this is an OW, I would do 60 on this.
We've been doing 60 during the pandemic.
Okay, and if you have 60 days, if you need more time, just let me know, because I'd rather have you. What happens is if you don't pay, I have to either, order the fine be paid through state collections or suspend your driver's license for a year. I'd rather not do that. So if you need more time to pay, just let me know that as well.
60 days will be sufficient.
Okay. Now, I've gone through the forfeiture, the blood alcohol content and everything. Normally, I would review the police report, but I don't have that. I don't have any internet capability right now. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably have my clerk, Mary, read portions of the police reports to me. And then that way I would be able to establish that there was probable cause and sufficiency for my purposes. You understand that as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Any questions for me?
I don't believe I have any questions at this time.
Okay. So now would be the time I take your plea. Your three plea options would be guilty, no contest, or not guilty. If you like, I can go through those again.
I guess, yeah, just real quick, if you don't mind.
Okay. Guilty means that you want this to be over, you're admitting guilt, and then I would have normally I read the police report, but in this case, Mary would just read it to me. And that if I find a factual basis, I'll find you guilty. No contest means, you know what, I don't want to admit guilt, but I want it to be over with. If you're involved in an accident, they can't use that guilt plea against you if somebody wants to come back and sue you. But basically, you don't want to go through any of the hassles, and you want to basically end it tonight. I would still review the police report, and if there's a factual basis, I'll find you guilty. Not guilty plea means that you don't believe that you want to take this to a trial. And what I do for not guilty pleas is I usually have you meet with a city prosecutor. I order that you attend a pretrial conference, which now is you call the city prosecutor up and see if you can resolve it short of a trial.
Okay. I would like to plead no contest, Your Honor.
Okay. You understand that with no contest plea, I'll basically have my clerk read me the police report, and if there's a factual basis, I'll find you guilty. You understand? I'll likely find you guilty.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So if you have any doubts or you would like to talk about maybe reducing your sentence and so forth, I'm not going to be able to do that. If you want, you can always talk to the prosecutor to see if you can get a break on either the driver's license revocation or the amount of the fine, et cetera. Do you want to talk to the prosecutor? Or do you want to get it over with tonight?
I would rather resolve it tonight, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. So what was your plea again?
No contest.
Okay. With a no contest plea, I'll likely find you guilty. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, this time I usually read the police report. But Mary, do you have the police report in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. What was the basis for the stop? In other words, was there speeding, weaving within all lane?
A dispatch call to an accident.
Okay. So there had been an accident, and was the defendant one of the drivers?
Yes.
Okay. So the police officer was dispatched, and it was where was the accident within the city of Stoughton?
Yes, on Highway 51 at the address for the O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
Okay. Yep, that is within the city of Stoughton. All right. So Highway 51. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Did the officer talk to the defendant, and the defendant exhibits odor, various clues of intoxication?
Bloodshot, glassy red eyes, moderate odor of intoxicants, and slurred speech. Okay.
And then did the officer ask the defendant to perform field sobriety tests?
Yes.
Okay. HGN, skip to how many clues were there?
6.
Okay. And then walk and turn, were there a few clues?
I did note 5 total clues in the walk and turn.
Okay. And then the one-legged stand?
4 clues.
Okay. And then don't tell me if there was a PBT, but then was the defendant arrested?
No, they did the preliminary breath test. then?
I don't want to hear that. I can't hear
Okay,
that.
that was done and then he was arrested according to this.
Okay. And then what was his blood alcohol content at? Was it blood or breath?
Breath was 0.238.
Okay. Okay. And there was an accident. Okay. Just a minute. All right. So Mary, if you could email me Mr. Sticklesed's police report. Mr. Sticklesed, based upon the evidence that Mary told me today, there is a sufficient basis for your plea. I'll accept your no contest plea and find you guilty. Since there was an accident, you're not admitting guilt, but I will find you guilty. And I'll review your police report just to make sure at a later date. All right. Anything you'd like to say before I decide on the sentence?
I made a very selfish decision that night. I am thankful that nobody was injured in the accident, and I deeply regret it. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay. Yeah, because if somebody was hurt, you probably would be seeing a circuit court judge instead of me. But I do. Whenever there's an accident, and was there other property damage in the accident?
My car was totaled.
Okay. What about was there another vehicle involved?
Yeah, he took a left-hand turn in front of me in the construction area. So I T-boned him. He was at fault in the accident. Okay.
All right. Because of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, since you're above a .2, I'm going to order that I'm going to order an 8-month driver's license revocation. I will order that you pay the face amount of the citation, and I'll give you 60 days to pay. There will be an alcohol and drug assessment that you have to complete, and 6 demerit points will be issued your driver's license. I'll also make the finding that you were at .22, you're above a 1.5, so that I will order that an interlock ignition device be installed and all vehicles registered in your name for a period of 12 months, and I'll surcharge you $50 for that as well. Okay. The last one, part of the IID order will include that anytime you operate a motor vehicle within the next, when you first obtain a license, whether a regular one or an occupational license, that any vehicle you drive must have an IID installed. You understand that as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. 60 days to pay will be sufficient?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll send you that paperwork at the address that you gave before. What did you learn?
That it was a very selfish act that I undertook. I need to make better life decisions. I've begun making those better life decisions. I have not drank and drive since even a drop since the incident occurred. And I'm working on creating a better, healthy lifestyle to just lower overall intake.
Okay. Just make sure that it doesn't happen again, because next time, unless you go more than 10 years, will likely be criminal charges then.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and send the paperwork to you. Just be mindful of your driving. Make sure that doesn't happen again, and we'll send you the paperwork. And if you have any questions regarding the paperwork, there will be a number to call on the forms.
Can I ask just a couple of really quick questions?
Sure.
So I already have an occupational license, and I understand I need to get the IID. Is the information regarding that going to be in the paperwork?
Yes, what you're going to do, because there will be an IID. So even though you have an occupational license now, what will happen then is you will have to get your IID installed on all your vehicles, and then the DOT will mandate that you have IID. They'll demand proof that you have IIDs in your vehicle.
Yep.
Speaking of which, how many vehicles are in your name?
Only one.
Okay, then you only have to put the one in your car.
And then the other question I had was, you mentioned there was an 8-month revocation, but obviously
right.
The IID is for 12 months. How does that
Correct.
4-month difference factor in? So is it?
Well, what will happen is.
Go on.
I'm sorry, I interrupted, but let me see if I can explain. The way the IID works is that it starts to run when you first get a product of theirs. Now, the product can either be a regular driver's license or an occupational license. What happens is that 12 months begins when you first get a product. You've already gotten a product, the occupational license. So you're going to get a letter from DOT saying you must install an IID immediately. So the 12-month period begins to run then. Then what happens is, under an occupational license, you're only allowed to drive to and from work in limited hours. That will be for 8 months. Once the 8 months expires, you still have 4 more months left on the IID, but you won't have those restrictive hours anymore.
Okay.
Does that answer your questions?
Yes, Your Honor. And
Okay.
then
Okay, good.
one final question. For the alcohol assessment, is the information for getting that set up going to also be in the paperwork?
Correct.
Okay. Then
Yeah,
at this point, I have no further questions.
Okay. And when you get that assessment information, you have to call within 72 hours of when you receive it. So call right away.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I think that will take care of everything then.
I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for your patience with everything, and I will review the police report just to make sure that there was a factual basis. So I don't like doing it orally, but I think there was sufficient basis. But if there's not, I'll make sure and I'll double check the police report.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stickelstead.
Have a great night. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, you too. Okay, Mary, still there?
Yes,
Okay. Number 2, who was
right.
I,
He's in the waiting room.
it
You
wasn't
know,
highlighted in yellow. It wasn't highlighted in yellow. That's what threw me off.
He is highlighted in yellow, but maybe that was later that it came through after I sent that.
Okay.
Jordan, last name is Jordan, Jour. And we are being televised, just so you're aware. So that's why I guess I was thrown as to putting him in the waiting room. So I'll bring
Okay.
him.
Okay.
I'll bring him back if I can figure out how to do that.
Okay. So it's Wesley Jordan Buskager?
Correct. There he is. Okay. All right. All right. Wesley, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. So this is Judge Matt Rothy. So I'm on the phone. We were having technical difficulties. Usually I appear by video, but I had to do it by phone tonight. So so this is Wesley Lloyd Edward Jordan Buskager. Did I say all that right?
Buskager.
Buskager. Okay, thank you. Mr. Buskager, or I'm sorry, Mr. Jordan Jordan Buskager. Do you want to give the address to the court?
220 Lincoln Avenue.
Okay, and that's here in town?
Yeah.
Okay. You have 2 citations for tonight. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You have 1 citation for license restriction violation, and you have 1 at a failure to stop at a stop sign. Now, we're here for pleas tonight, and normally what happens is I just take a plea and I just give you information on the citations. Now, the pleas would be the 3 plea options you have are guilty, no contest, and not guilty. Guilty means that you're admitting that you're guilty. What I will do is I will normally I review the police report, but I will what I will do is I will have my clerk email me the police report. I'll have that. I'll basically won't state. If you're found guilty, I will hold off the conviction until I've had a chance to review the police report. Now, so you have 2 citations. I'm sorry. Let me finish with the police. So that was guilty. No contest means that you are you're not admitting guilt, but you want it to end tonight. And that what I will do is that I will impose the appropriate forfeitures. If you believe that you're not guilty or the city couldn't prove your case, you should enter a plea of not guilty. And what happens then is that it's set for a trial date. But before it's set for a trial date, I order that, or you have a pretrial conference whereby you can meet with the prosecutor to see if you can either reach a resolution, reduce points, reduce forfeitures, etc. So guilty, no contest, or not guilty. Do you understand the pleas as I've told you about them so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you received 2 citations. One is for license restriction violation, and the other is failure to stop at a stop sign. Do you understand both these citations?
Yes.
Okay. Now, failure to stop at a stop sign, in addition to the points and the forfeiture amount, there's also any type of failure to stop at a stop sign. The DOT mandates that you have to take a class. So if you're found guilty, you'll get a notice from the court or notice from the DOT saying that you have to take a class in order to keep your driver's license. That's in addition to the penalties that I would give tonight. Do you understand that as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for the failure to stop at a stop sign, there's a forfeiture range of $30 to $50. Normally, these are $88.80, and that means you're at the minimum forfeiture range. But I can go up or down depending on the circumstances. Do you understand that as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for driver's license restrictions, that means, do you understand the elements for that citation as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So that means that you had probably too many people in the car if you had a probationary license, usually what that means. Now, speaking of which, do you still have a probationary license?
Yeah.
What happens on a probationary license is that if you receive, on your second moving violation, the point totals then double. Were you aware of that as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're aware that for failure to stop at a stop sign, is if that's your second moving violation, the point totals doubles that as well. The problem with you have a probationary license and you start getting tickets like this, it's very easy to lose your driver's license. Do you understand that?
Yes.
In fact, if you can't accumulate 12 or more points in a year, otherwise your driver's license will be suspended. Were you aware of that as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I've reviewed the citation, the penalty range, the points, and I think the driver's license restriction, that will be 3 points. And I believe the failure to stop at a stop sign is 3 points as well. Is that correct, Mary?
Yes.
Okay. So those are the point violations as well. And so you're aware of the point violations for each citation?
Yeah.
All right. Any questions for me?
No.
All right. Now's the time I take your plea. Either 3 plea options are guilty, no contest, or not guilty.
No contest.
You understand? With a no contest plea, I'll review the police report, and if I find you guilty, I'll impose the appropriate penalties. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's see. So you entered a no contest plea. What I'm going to do, I don't have the police report in front of me, and I'd like to review that at some point. Now, why is it that you wanted to appear in court tonight?
I don't know. Just
Oh, okay.
try and
Did
reduce
you want
my
to reduce the
points, if
penalties or the
anything.
points? What's that?
My points, if anything.
Okay. I can't do anything about that. What I would suggest is that if you want to talk to reduce your points, we should probably have a not guilty plea entered for you, and that will give a chance to talk to the prosecutor who might be able to reduce your points. Typically, I can't do that at initial appearances. Is that what you want to do?
Sure.
Okay. We'll enter a not guilty plea on your behalf. We'll set up a time where you can meet with the prosecutor. Now, make sure that you just call in the prosecutor. We'll give you a date and time you can call, and then you can discuss your citations with the prosecutor then.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll send out that notice to your address. Call the prosecutor on the day, because if you don't call, well, it'll tell me the prosecutor won't call, and then I'll find you guilty of both citations, and then we'll have to impose the penalties as I've listed. And I think you want to avoid that, especially with a probationary license. So make sure that you call.
All right.
All right. And with that, that's all I have for you. Do you have any additional questions for me?
No.
All right. That will take care of it for this evening then.
All right. You too.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, Mary, is anybody else in the waiting room?
Nope, that's it. Uh-oh. Hi, it's Mary. I'm not sure what happened. Okay, all right, okay. All right, I'll just wait then. Okay, thank you. Oh, boy. Ugh. Oh, boy. All right. No, it's a, yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay, thank you.
Mary?
Hello. Hi there.
Hi, Judge Rothie again.
Okay.
Who else is with us?
There's no one else, just the TV station that's recording this.
Oh, okay. That was the other participant.
Oh, okay. So did you want to do the defaults?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay.
All right. Okay. So Abby Abramovich, a default. Bradford Anderson. It says will be appearing by phone, but did Mr. Anderson ever appear?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll default. Joseph Bant, default. And then Sam Bond, bond forfeiture. Bruce Beth is a bond forfeiture. James Beveridge is a bond forfeiture. Dakota Bevins is a default judgment. Amanda Burian is a bond forfeiture. Carrie Capener is a default judgment. Catherine Christopherson is a default judgment. Natalie Derry is a default judgment. Leslie Daring is a bond forfeiture. Darren Dunn is a bond forfeiture. Michael Ebner is a bond forfeiture. All right, Sherman Everson. No contest, please see plea sheet.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Can you send me the plea sheets from well, we won't default them tonight. I'll take a look at those.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure.
I think that's the best way to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Derek Ford would be a default judgment. Broderick Forsyth would be a default judgment. Derek Fausta would be a default judgment. Geraldine Foy would be a default judgment. Brian Gatling would be a default judgment. Hallie Hack would be a default judgment. And when I say the name, sometimes they have multiple citations. If they default them, go ahead and default them for all their citations. So far, so good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Yep. Next would be Trevon Marquise Harold Halverson Williams is a default citation. Aaron Henderson is a default. Michael Hermanson is a bond forfeiture. I had trouble reading this. Huaman Sosa is a default judgment. Anise Jackson is a default judgment. Maynard Johnson is a bond forfeiture. Roger Johnson is a default judgment. Again, I see where it's a retail theft. I'll hold restitution hearings for now.
Okay.
And then actually we took care of Mr. Jordan Buskager. Next would be Sean Klimek is a default judgment. Alexander Knudsen is a default judgment. Caitlin Cratchwell is a default judgment. Melissa Land Pierre will hold that since it's a plea sheet that I can't see. Edwin Larson will hold that as well. Michael Larson is a default judgment. Marco Antonio Lopez Moreno is a default judgment. Luisa Mayhew is a default judgment. Corey Mason is a default judgment. Jacob Medinger is a default judgment on all three citations. Scott Meeker would be a bond forfeiture. Nicholas Miller is a bond forfeiture. Lindsay Miller is a default judgment. Christopher Minner is a default judgment. Matthew Nelson is a default judgment on both citations. Tony James Nunn is a default judgment. Darren Oler is a bond forfeiture. Megan Orth is a default judgment. Danny Perkins is a default judgment. James Petrie will hold on that because of the plea sheet. It says guilty plea. Was there a plea sheet at all?
No, he just said guilty and then he paid it.
Okay, so we'll forfeit the bond for James Petrie.
Okay.
I don't need to see that.
Right.
Okay, really nothing to see. Probably. I'm sorry.
Right.
Go ahead.
I have the ones that have something to say. I have C plea sheets. So.
Yep. Okay. Was that the first guilty plea that I've seen?
Yes, so far.
Oh, let's go back to Melissa. Oh, you know what? Melissa Lampier had both. So, okay, we have done that. I'm just kind of looking. All right. So far, so good. That was the only one I've had with a guilty. Well, actually, okay. So Dion Pickett is a default judgment. Zachary Plumley is a default judgment on both citations. Michael Rickfels is a bond forfeiture. Charles Riegert is a bond forfeiture. Christy Ringelstetter, we'll hold off on that. I want to take a look at the plea sheet. Jesse Rojas Torres is a default judgment. I put Jesse, it's Jesus. Jesus Rojas Torres is a default judgment on both citations. Okay. Next would be Tori Rowe is a default judgment. Andrea Sandlin is a default judgment. Christy Scart, I will hold off on that because it is a no contest plea, see plea sheet. I see where she got 2 citations, so I'll hold off on both of those for her. Next would be Austin Schmidt is a default judgment.
Just one. It's a different name.
Oh, you're right. You're right. So Chris, and you're right. They were very similar. So, yeah. Oh, completely different. But I better get my eyes checked. I'm having trouble reading this. All right. Christian Scott Schlitz is a default judgment. Austin Schmidt is a default judgment. Okay, good. Grant Schultz is a bond forfeiture. Clint Seehaffer is a bond forfeiture. Barim Salami is a bond forfeiture. So many, probably. And then Lillian Elizabeth Sevilla Sillies is a bond forfeiture. Kevin Singer is a bond forfeiture. Rosalind Smith is a default judgment. Amanda Smithson is a default judgment. Juan Solis is a default judgment on all 3 citations. Keith Spatola is a default judgment. Stephen Stacy is a bond forfeiture. Natasha Stankovic is a default judgment. We had Mr. Stickleset appear. Jonathan Swalheim is a default judgment. Christy Jo Sweeney will hold off on that because there's a plea sheet. Tasha Swenson is a default judgment on both citations. Casey Jo Swenson Adams is entered a guilty plea, and I'll find the person guilty on both citations. Noah Stilty is a default judgment. Jason Trainer is a default judgment. Kelly Vitens is a default judgment of both citations. James Walker is a bond forfeiture. Brendan Wiesner is a default judgment. Joseph Wagner is a default judgment. Matthew Wagner is a bond forfeiture. Jonathan Christopher Weigel is a bond forfeiture. Nicholas Weisensell is a default judgment. William Walacha is a default judgment on both citations. Bradley West is a bond forfeiture. Elise Wozniak is a bond forfeiture. Jonathan Yeadon is a default judgment. And that concludes our initial appearances. All right. Let me go back to where I was. Hang on a second. All right, you still there?
I am, yes.
Okay,
Hello?
let me go. Oh, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. And then, what do we have a hearing for?
It's a review of income. He had an indigency hearing in December of 2019, and you said to give him 6 months and we would review. You didn't make a decision at that time. The citation was from 2013, and it was in collections. So he was complaining at that point, and you said rather than giving him we would wait 6 months. So it was scheduled for June 17th. He defaulted via Zoom, and you said to give him another 3 months, which is today. So
Okay.
I don't know.
So we're just waiting for him to appear?
And the city attorney was going to join us in case he does appear. Do you have a minute, though, to talk about the pre-trials for tonight? I have a question on one of them.
Sure. Should we, although this is being recorded, right? There's no confidentiality breaches, are there?
I'm not going to say any names.
Okay.
It's just regarding this. I can say it basically regarding two parts to the restitution. There was one that involved restitution, and it was actually 3 defendants, and she's ordering the full restitution for this one defendant. And I don't know, number one, should we hold off on restitution like you've done with everyone else? I don't think
yes, we should.
Okay, so you may want to tell her that, and I'll send you, her dispositions, but if you can mention that to her, that was the main thing. And I guess we can talk later about how it's handled when there's more than one defendant.
Right, because it usually is joint and several liability. If 2 can't pay, the one could pay. And then I think the way the first defendant could go out, file suit against the other 2, but I'd rather not do that. That's a complicated legal procedure, so.
Okay. That was it.
Okay, so we have 8 minutes?
Right.
Okay. Should I hang on or should I call back?
You might want to hang on with the way that our luck is going tonight. I don't want to lose you.
Okay. All right, I'll do that. Let me check the battery on my phone. Okay, I've got enough. Okay, well, I will hang out here until he comes in.
Okay.
So when the hearing, when did he complain about the fines? Was that this year, last year, or was that a couple years ago?
Oh, it was last year. I'm not sure why he just discovered. I mean, it had been in collections for several years. The initial violation date was 2013. And then it went to trip. That's how old it is. And then all of a sudden he was complaining about it. So
Okay. And send me that OWI. Send me the police report tomorrow as well.
Okay.
I'll make sure. But what you told me, the basic facts is all what I look for.
Okay.
Hey, Mary.
Yes,
While we've got a minute, talk to John and see when he's available to just, we'll have to set up a time where I'm home and we can kind of
right, right,
reconfigure my computer again.
yes, yeah. Yeah, he knows. So I
Yeah.
called him.
Okay, Mary.
Yes.
All right, let me go back to email. All right. Oh, now it's pausing. All right. Loading. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's call the case of City of Stoughton versus Stuart James Hofelder.
Okay.
Is there anybody in the waiting room now?
No, no one is
Okay,
there.
so I know it's 6:06, but if he calls in, let me know. But as of right now, I'm going to deny his motion, and we can send his amount owing to collections.
Okay.
I know it was an income dispute, but he's got to prove that. I don't have anything in front of me, therefore I'm going to deny his motion for an income modification, and we'll send it to collections.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
Oh,
All we'll do is send me those police sheets and the OWI report.
okay. John Montgomery is going to call you in a few minutes. He's home now, but instead of being on TV, he'll call you separately. So.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.